Well, good morning. Happy Monday to you. It is Monday, the 15th of September, and we are back at it. We had a busy weekend on Saturday. We laid my friend Dick to rest, and I thought it was a really good tribute to him. I thought everybody did a great job. I was very proud of everybody. That one was hard. It was hard. um, very good friend, and just an incredible man, and sorely missed. And I really that one was challenging, but by God's grace we got through it, and that was good. And then, my goodness, there's a lot of other things going on in the news. Just all sorts of things that are very challenging out there. We have a young man who was shot, last Wednesday or Thursday or whatever, and it has really sparked quite a bit of a response, apparently all the way around the world. And so I don't know where that goes or what that means. But anytime anybody's shot, it's not good. But he's it's something to stand up and take notice. And also just there was also that young lady who was killed in the subway, just a gruesome murder. And I think things like this happen, but for some reason, some of them rise up to the top, and they become big catalyst issues in our nation, and we just never know what may end up with all this stuff. So we need to continue to keep our nation in our prayers, and the last thing we want to do is lose our democracy. That is something that we have cherished here in the United States for a long time. And it is a good form of government. It's what a lot of people have given their lives for, and it's just something that is very precious, and we don't want to lose it. And this, you just never know when one little domino may make a domino effect. It's just crazy. All right, and was there? Yeah, the skies are pretty much clear this morning, but my understanding is we'll continue to get clouds coming in over the week, and that there may be some sort of tropical storm or hurricane or something that may dump more rain on us as it comes in. We just never know, right? Never know. Very strange September for sure. Usually, I think September 15th is the last day of the monsoon, so we're officially over it. But if we get rain, is that a monsoon rain or is that a tropical storm rain? Is it delayed monsoon? It's just tough to know. And birthdays, we have two birthdays today, Kendall Zizzo and Terry Marcus. Happy birthday to both of you. May God richly bless you. Yeah, I hope Terry is resting well today, because there was a lot of stuff going on over the weekend, and she's always in the thick of it. Okay, I think that's about it. We are in Leviticus chapter 23. And in this chapter, the Lord is telling Moses and Aaron all the various festivals that they are to celebrate. And before the harvest, there was a bunch of harvest festivals. And then as they come out of the harvest, we saw Pentecost was one of those festivals. But there's also other festivals coming out of the harvest season also. Of the fall festivals. And so we're going to get into the fall festivals and just see kind of where it takes us. So we're in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 23. The Lord said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, on the first day of the 7th month, you are to have a day of Sabbath rest, a sacred assembly commemorated with trumpet blasts. Do no regular work, but present a food offering to the Lord. So this isn't a Sabbath, but it is a Sabbath rest. And it's one that's commemorated with trumpets. And this would be the shofar, most likely. They didn't have formal trumpets, they had shofars. So this is the day of the shofars, or Rosh Hashanah. And this was a time when they would come together on the first day of the 7th month to have a Sabbath day and do no work but present food offering to the Lord. And I wonder, this must have been one of those times where because there are a lot in the 7th month, there's quite a few festivals. And so the thing I wonder about, and the lunar calendar is different than the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar happens in 365.25 days. So you get 365 days, and then on a leap year you get 366, and that pretty much matches up the Gregorian calendar with the seasons. That 365.25 is a really, really, really good calculation of the rotation of the Earth around the sun. But in the lunar system, it was totally different. Sometimes you had you had the months. There were 12 months, but it didn't match up, and so you added in certain times. You added an extra month here or there, a lunar month, and it was very, very complicated. And I think it was so complicated that as you were going into these fall festivals, you weren't sure if this is the full moon that indicated the fall festivals or if it was the next full moon or the previous full moon. So I think the blowing of the shofar was a signal to all of Israel that this is the beginning of the month, whether or not they added an extra month into the time or not. This was the beginning of the month for the fall festivals, so that people could kind of plan, because there were quite a few fall festivals in that 7th month. On the first day of the 7th month. So on the first day you blow the shofar, and then you have other festivals in that month. And what are those other festivals? Well, let's go see. Verse 26. The Lord said to Moses, the 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. Hold a sacred assembly and deny yourselves and present a food offering to the Lord. Do not do any work on that day, because it is the Day of Atonement, when atonement is made for you before the Lord your God. Those who do not deny themselves on that day must be cut off from their people. I will destroy from among their people anyone who does work on that day. You shall not do any work at all. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come, wherever you live. It is the day of Sabbath day for you. A day of Sabbath rest for you, and you must deny yourselves from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening. You're to observe the Sabbath. So this is a Sabbath, but it's a special Sabbath that's a Day of Atonement. Yom Kippur. This is the day where you make atonement for your sins, and this is the one that the people would. On the one day where they would have a full day of rest, and they would make atonement for their sins, and they would present a food offering to the Lord, and they would deny themselves, and they don't do any work on that day. And if they do work on that day, then they are cut off from the nation of Israel. So this is a pretty serious one. And you can imagine that when Jesus was healing on the Sabbath, that it was a pretty severe thing. And this is a severe punishment for the people. But you have to remember, and Jesus said this, he said the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. And what he meant by that was, yes, we should observe the Sabbath, but it is for us. It's for us to rest, so that we understand that life is not just about work, but it's also about taking time to enjoy family, spend time with God. I mean, all of those things that make life meaningful. If you do not stop periodically and do the things that make life meaningful, you get to the end of your life and say, what was the purpose of all that? And that is the great thing about stopping to observe the Sabbath once a week is to understand why you're here and what makes your life have meaning. And the things that make life have meaning, obviously, are spending time with your family, spending time with your God, or spending time with the God, our God. These are the things that make life rich and full and meaningful. And was it Charles Dickens that wrote about Ebenezer Scrooge, and all he cared about was his money. And he had a nephew that was sick that could have used his help, and he had all of these different people in his life that wanted to be a part of his life, and he was so consumed by the allure of what he owned in this life and making sure that that increased, that he did that to the rejection of everything else in his life, and we can't live that way. And the same thing is with Yom Kippur. You have to spend time making sure that you are right with God, that you have been forgiven for all the things that you've done. It's a day to make sure that you are atoned for all the things that you've done. And so you would spend the Day of Atonement. All right. Verse 33. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, on the 15th day of the 7th month, the Lord's festival of tabernacles begins, and it lasts for 7 days. The first day is a sacred assembly, do no regular work. For 7 days, present food offerings to the Lord, and on the 8th day, hold a sacred assembly and present a food offering to the Lord. It is the closing special assembly, do no regular work. These are the Lord's appointed festivals, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies for bringing food offerings to the Lord. The burnt offerings and the grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings required for each day. These offerings are in addition to those for the Lord's Sabbaths and in addition to your gifts and whatever you have vowed and all the free will offerings you give to the Lord. So this is a time for you to look at what God has blessed you with and then to turn around and give blessings back to the Lord. These would come to the tabernacle, and Aaron and the rest of the priests would take this food, offer some of it to the Lord. Some of it is their sustenance. It has always been in the Christian tradition that Paul said that a worker is worth his wages. And what he meant by that is that we will have people that spend their full-time job doing the work of the Lord, and they are also to receive some sort of something of sustenance from the people. And this all goes back to the Old Testament. Now, but you'll remember Paul was also was a tent maker. So Paul, while he was preaching the gospel and doing his missionary work, sometimes he would pause from his missionary work and spend time making tents. As a matter of fact, we read in the book of Acts, later in Acts, how he was there with a couple of people because they were tent makers and they were all making tents. And Paul was able to earn a little bit of a living to sustain him because Paul's mission in life was to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. But that didn't mean that there weren't times when he had to pause and do other work in order to fulfill what his mission was in life. And so he would do that. And, it's interesting. For a very, very long time, probably since the beginning of the church, there have been priests and pastors who are employed full-time by a congregation. But that is actually changing a little bit. In one of the denominations, they're saying that the odds of a person getting, because many of the mainline congregations have diminished in size. In some denominations, they're saying you can get your MDiv degree and you can go be at a congregation. But if it's a smaller size congregation, they won't be able to employ you full time. So you might also have to have a job on the side. And this is in some of these denominations what they're telling their people. And there's nothing unbiblical about that. This is what Paul did. There are times when if a congregation can't afford a full-time pastor, it is perfectly acceptable to get one part-time, and that is a perfectly acceptable way to go. And I think it's gonna happen more and more in our own particular church body. The statistics just came out, and I think 45% of our congregations are 50 worship in attendance 50 or less on Sunday, and 75% is 100 or less on Sunday. And it's not just our particular denominations. There's many, 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 many denominations. The natural size of a congregation is probably that 35 to 50. That's where that's where it wants to kind of hang out. So in order to get it beyond that, you really do have to do a lot of work and planning and programming to move the congregation beyond that. But otherwise, just the natural size. There was a guy that did a study looking at, well, I don't want to get into that. A natural comfortable size is like that 35 to 50. That in a kind of a small group of people, that is a very, 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 very natural size, and people kind of gravitate towards that. All right, 39. So beginning with the 15th day of the 7th month, after you have gathered the crops of the land, celebrate the festival to the Lord for 7 days. The first day is a day of Sabbath rest, and the 8th day is also a day of Sabbath rest. On the first day, you are to take branches from luxuriant trees, from palms, willows, and other leafy trees, and rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. Celebrate this as a festival to the Lord for 7 days each year. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. Celebrate it in the 7th month. Live in temporary shelters for 7 days. All native-born Israelites are to live in such shelters, so your descendants will know that I had the Israelites live in temporary shelters when I brought them out of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses announced to the Israelites the appointed festivals of the Lord. So that ends all the festivals. But this last one is a festival of, I think it's called the Festival of Booths. Let me look here. Or tabernacles. Yeah, the festival. So here's the list of them. So you have the spring festivals, the Passover, the unleavened bread, the first fruits, and then you have Pentecost, which is 50 days after first fruits, and then you have the harvest season. You come out of the harvest season, and you have trumpets, atonement, tabernacles. These are the fall festivals. So you have spring and you have fall, and that last one is the Festival of Booths, and that one is to remind the Israelites that they were nomadic, that when God rescued them out of slavery in Egypt and they wandered in the wilderness for 40 days, they did not have much. They didn't have land. They didn't have a king, although they did have Joshua. They had judges. But you don't need a whole lot. It's a reminder that I kind of tied in with when Jesus says, "Give us this day our daily bread." Like we really do want more and more and more as a species. If anything new and shiny comes along, we want that, and so we live. We find our property, we build a house, we build a bigger house. There's just things that we want in this life, but truly, God's people originally was nomadic. They moved from place to place, and they didn't have much because they couldn't, because they had to pack it from one place to another. And that was okay. That was enough. It's a reminder to the people when you go out into a shelter and live that way, that you just simply don't need that much. You need some food, you need some water, a little bit of shelter, maybe a little bit of clothing. And that's it. All the rest of the things that we have in this life that so consume our days is all stuff that truly, truly is not needed. And I would say, in some instances, not in every instance, but in some instances, gets in the way of what really truly is important, which is spending time with God, spending time with our family, um, living in community with each other, um, and enjoying the the relationships of the people around us. Relationships are more important than anything else. We've kind of lost this a little bit. Um, what is it? Most people spend 6 to 10 hours a day on, on their computers and, having a relationship with your computer. And we should get away from that if at all possible and spend more relationships with other people. It's so easy and it's so quick and it's so accessible to have a relationship with somebody, we're all guilty of this. When I was growing up, um, we played outside until the street light came on and then we came in. I don't remember watching a lot of TV growing up. The only time I really watched TV was on Saturday morning. They would have cartoons, and we were allowed to get up and watch maybe an hour or two of cartoons on Saturday morning. But other than that, we did not watch a lot of TV because we were in relationship with everybody else in our neighborhood, especially in the summertime. In the wintertime, my mom would make us sit we'd all sit around the dining room table, which was a huge 12 seating dining room table, and we do our homework. And my sister ended up with that dining room table, and I think still in there are impressions of all of us doing our homework. Because it was a soft wood table. My dad purchased it from Mexico, and so when we did all the homework, there's indentations on the table that have all the homework that we were all doing. She's put a glass top on it because it's just something that should be protected. And so if we weren't doing our homework, we were cleaning our room or we were reading a book or we were outside playing. And for our particular family, when I was growing up, we did not watch a lot of TV. And the other time we watched TV was sometimes my dad would cook, most times my dad would cook hamburgers or steak or something on Sunday night. And we'd watch Wonderful World of Disney that was on the TV. And I remember that. But other than that, and now everybody, it's just so accessible. We've foregone all those relationships and all those joys for a relationship with a object that sits on a desk somewhere or in your hand somewhere. And I don't think that's why we were created. I think we were created more for relationships with each other. All right. And I think that God wants us to remember that. I think that's why he has the tabernacle, the festival of booths, because he wants us to remember it does not take much for us to live comfortably as long as we have each other. How's that? How's that for pontificating? All right. So I think we'll end it there. Tomorrow or the next day, tomorrow we'll get into Leviticus chapter 24, which is about some foods that he's going to talk about. And let's close in prayer. Gracious God, thank you for this day. And until we meet again, keep us in your grace. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Where am I? Right here. Thank you to all of you joining me online. I appreciate it. And may you have a blessed... Oh, Lawrence Welk. My grandparents watched Lawrence Welk, but I wasn't big into Lawrence Welk. That wasn't something that we did a lot of. Although we should have. My dad was a concert pianist, and so he should have liked Lawrence Welk. But whenever we'd go to my grandparents' house, yes, they loved Lawrence Welk. That was always fun. All right. Hey, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Blessings. Bye.